and welcome back to the Troutman Battery and Storage Podcast. I'm your host, Bill Derasmo, and I'm very pleased today to have with us the President and CEO of Largo Resources, Mr. Paulo Misk. Paulo, welcome.
Thank you very much, William, for having me.
Excellent. Well, Paulo, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and Largo Resources, maybe some introduction to your company, and then we can get into a more detailed discussion about how Largo wants to pursue its vanadium technology.
Oh, that's great, William. Largo is the world's largest primary producer of vanadium and one of the lowest cost of producer vanadium in the world. We are a vertically integrated vanadium company with a solid foundation based on the quality of its vanadium products, its great team, advanced technology, and world-class vanadium mineral assets in Brazil. Largo started its operation in late 2014, has grown its annual vanadium production by over 100% since then, and is proud to have a history of excellent social and environmental stewardship and stakeholder engagement. In 2020, we had a transformational year for Largo. Last year, we established our internal sales and trading division to drive additional value for the company. We also began a construction of V2O3 plant to increase our high-purity product offering and to have a perfect raw material for the V electrolyte production, which we're going to talk very soon. Largo exited 2020 with a strong operational and financial momentum following new quarterly and annual production records and a new quarterly sales record. In December last year, Largo made a strategic business transformation with the acquisition of patents associated with the VRFB technologies and bring on board the team from one of the leading VRFB companies. This was the inception of Largo Clean Energy, our US-based division that will contribute for world's decarbonization efforts.
So to be clear, Paulo, in terms of Largo Resources, what we're going to get into next is the battery storage stuff, but it's a very successful mining company, and in particular, the vanadium production is low cost and extremely high purity. So you guys have a very strong position that you start with your what we call legacy business, but that's going to go forward in a very strong position. Now I think what you're talking about for Largo is on top of that already very successful operation, you guys have a very strong plan to move forward in the battery space where you can really add value and really fill a niche that the marketplace seems to be crying out for. A lot of times in this podcast, we talk about lithium-ion batteries. Lithium-ion batteries are great, but they tend to be short duration, and they tend to fill that need in the marketplace, although they can do a lot of different things, but they fill a certain need. I think Largo and its long-duration batteries and its vanadium technology, I think you guys, conversations that we've seen in the past have been saying, well, we can do that, but we can also do a lot of other things. So why don't I let you talk about the difference with your technology?
Thank you. Largo always is looking for creating value for our shareholders, for our customers, and based on our high purity production, we can apply our products, not just for aerospace and chemical sectors, which we are already doing, but also we're looking to apply it in a VRFBs. VRFBs, is a vanadium redox flow battery, is the perfect solution for long duration storage energy, which is a requirement for all renewables energy source to meet the green energy deal, which means to have only the green energy being produced without carbon emission. We need to have a storage system because, all the wind and sun and solar production, you cannot control when they produce. You need to have the sun rising, you need to have the wind blows, but the consumption doesn't follow that dynamics. So storage energy is a must to have these in the future. And we have the best solution.
Right. Well, and the intermittency problem with renewables is something that we've talked a lot about, both in this podcast and just in general. And you have a lot of, changes in the energy industry coming down the pike with decarbonization, everybody trying to integrate renewables to the greatest extent they can. But you're right. I mean, there's obviously the first problem is the intermittency problem. You now have the state of Maine, the Energy Storage Association, put out a statement that the state of Maine has become the 9th state in the United States to pass an energy storage target. So there's an increasing realization that we need to have batteries paired with these renewables. Renewables have done a great job, but they need to be paired with storage so that you can solve the intermittency problem. And as we've said, a lot of times lithium-ion batteries or other short-duration solutions are starting to be implemented, but I think there's also a growing realization that long-duration storage needs to be part of the picture. So tell me about why the vanadium long-duration storage is a superior solution in your view.
Vanadium, the VRFB, has been invented in 1970s. So there's a long history of evolving and improving all this stuff regarding the battery. But it's not being applied in a large scale at this moment. And I tell you why. It's specifically for long duration discharge, which is a requirement from now. If you look at 2 years ago, nobody's looking for 6, 8, and 10 hours duration. All the application for batteries is for other type of problems. But now, facing this Green Deal, we need to have a long duration. And vanadium, it's the only metal in periodic table which have the valence from 2 to 6. So it's very natural for vanadium to storage and release electrons. And as you have the vanadium both sides of your battery, anode and cathode, you can release, you can work many cycles, and there is no contamination because you have vanadium both sides. There is a perfect characteristic for the vanadium electrolyte, which is it doesn't degrade.
Right.
It can work for 25 years. That's the lifetime for the let's say solid parts of the battery. But it can be much more than this. So it lasts forever. We can reuse the vanadium electrolyte in other batteries. So it's very sustainable. Can you imagine something that you can use for to make the world greener and last forever? So that's the perfect solution for that reason. It's safe. It doesn't burn. It doesn't get warm and has no risk of fire. And the vanadium can be, it's for large amount of energy, by the way. That's the application vanadium is made for.
Yeah, I was hoping you would get into the cycling issue, right? Because what you're saying is it doesn't degrade over time. You can put it in place, and as the off-taker, so to speak, as the company purchasing the vanadium battery system, you can be assured that you're not going to have the cycling problem. You're not going to have the degradation problem. And then, as you say, at the end of the contract or at the end of the need for the battery installation, whatever it is, you could take the vanadium and use it again, so that you don't have this disposal problem that, I think we talked about a little bit. We had a gentleman from the World Economic Forum, and he was also concerned about the lithium and cobalt mining that is involved with lithium-ion production. But you were saying that your mine in Brazil, you're quite proud of the record that you have on those issues as well. So I think you have a very good story to tell, and that was one of the reasons why I was excited to have you on today. But if you could tell me a little bit more about the social issues at the vanadium mine and why Largo is actually proud of your operation there.
We care about people in Brazil, William. We really take care of people. Since the beginning, as an example, since the beginning of the pandemic for this COVID, we took all the measures to ensure that to have a healthy and safe place for our workers. And we didn't have any, not a one, severe case in our facility. Wow. You know, and we keep operating continuously. We didn't stop one day.
Wow.
But we just not take care of our people, but also of the communities surrounding our operation. So we give them all the conditions for them to face in a better way all this period. And I'm talking about provide COVID test kit, providing all the PPEs who needs to face and put them in a let's say exposition situation like medical team and all the people work for mayor. And we also donate food basket for the ones who needs to be at home. But you know, it's a pleasure to be at home if you have something to eat. And we are located in a very poor area in Brazil. The people there, they need some care. They need someone to take care of them. And we do everything it's possible to do. And another program that was very good to engage the whole community, we produce masks. We have some women that we donate all the materials they need, including all the machinery and everything. In the past, we have a huge program in this regard, and they produce more 400,000 masks, which we donate for the population. We donate for the surrounding communities, and they feel that how they can contribute. That's a great feeling that you need to make happen among the communities and among our team. We can do something better for others. You know, so the pandemic situation, it's create a very tough time, but also with creativity and a good feeling, we can create a very good things as well.
Well, that's very interesting to hear about. And like I said, I think that's an issue going forward just in the storage space in general. So I appreciate your comments there. If we could shift gears just a little bit, because I'm a lawyer, as you know, and I'm interested in how this all works. I remember on your battery day, I have in my notes here, you have currently you sell vanadium and you get, obviously, it's a commodity sale. You get a one-time payment for your commodity. But for your battery business, you have three value streams: the sale of the storage, sort of upfront revenue, then you have a leasing revenue, and then there's the sort of residual value of vanadium. So I don't know if you could talk about just a little bit about those three value streams, and in particular, I think the leasing model is of interest to me and the other lawyers in the room, so to speak.
All the VRB companies face challenge difficulties for make those batteries being applied as a solution for long storage batteries, which is the supply of vanadium. You know, to face the volatility of the vanadium price, they cannot ensure to deliver a battery in 1 year time, 2 years time. We can. So Largo brought the first solution for the VRFBs, because the technology is there, all the products and the batteries has been really well evolved. Just for example, our technology has the 3rd generation battery ready, to be delivered to our customers. And by the way, our technology provides 5 times more power density in a stack, which allow us to have a lower cost and efficient battery to have a low cost of TCO or LCOS. So
right, the levelized cost of storage I had in my notes, you guys are very competitive on and very proud of.
Yes, and also the total cost of ownership, that the TCO. But going to that solution, as you mentioned, so everything regarding the battery and technology is there, and we brought the securing supply of vanadium. And additionally, how we're gonna make the battery less expensive than other technologies as well. And then we bring this leasing business model, which allow us to provide a lower upfront capex for our customers, and at the same time to have a better returning for Largo and better earnings for our shareholders. So the way we structure this business model, we're gonna charge upfront capex, which will be enough to pay all our costs, including for the battery and the vanadium production, and also provide part of the profit, because we need to keep growing, expanding, and running our business. The remainder of the value of our revenue, it will come from this leasing, which will be a recurrent revenue. And in this calculation of the battery day, we consider some present value of the vanadium by end of 25 years. We will keep applying this vanadium electrolyte in another battery and keep generating a recurrent revenue, which is much more interesting for us.
But just to drill into that a little bit, just to be clear, what I understand is you're leasing the electrolyte within the battery, right? The vanadium electrolyte, which is obviously that's the critical piece. But so when you say that you'll have a revenue stream from the sale up front, and then you'll also have the leasing revenues, just walk through what exactly a customer would be purchasing and what exactly they'd be leasing.
Because the battery is basically 2 tanks of vanadium, one side anode, another side cathode. Just as a curiosity, one side the valence is 2 and 3, and the other side 4 and 5. And this liquid being stored in 2 tanks will pass through a membrane where you have this storage or release of electrons. So all these membrane, they are in a stack, which is a plate and membrane. It's a bunch of those unitized membranes together, and you need just pumps and pipes. Basically, that is the battery. Of course, there is a lot of electronic controls, and we have many things to ensure that it's going to run safely and in a good performance. But that's basically what you have in a battery. All the parts, solid parts, we're going to sell it to our customers.
Okay, right.
And the electrolyte, vanadium electrolyte, is the liquid, we are going to rent it. So that's basically our business. When they don't want to have this battery anymore, that's fine. We take this electrolyte back to us, and we apply another battery. That's the thing works.
And you also have long-term operating agreements, right? So you've got the sort of service agreements and the performance warranties. So, if you're a customer, you can be assured once you work out those contracts that you would also, you wouldn't be sort of left on your own, because it's a little bit specialized, right? So I just wanted to add that from my notes here.
You know why the vanadium, the VRFB solution and this business plan is great for Largo. Not just because we are providing the best solution for the batteries, for the customers, with a lower cost, but also is the higher value for our vanadium.
Right.
We will have a recurring revenue going forward.
Oh yeah.
And another thing which creates a great opportunity for Largo is to, as the demand of vanadium will grow in the electric energy sector, it will unlock our growth plan. So we'll be able to expand our production at Maracás at full potential there, and even going other sources of vanadium. We'll be more profitable, better, and bigger in the future.
And bigger, right? And I kind of blew over that a little bit in the beginning, but when we say that Largo is vertically integrated, and you got to understand for a lot of people, the audience of this podcast, when they think of vertical integration, they think of a vertically integrated utility, right? But for you guys, it's vertical integration from mine to battery production and battery service, and then even beyond that, like you say, because it's a leasing model. And the vanadium, there's no cycling problem, and the vanadium doesn't degrade, you can then reuse that vanadium again. So it's a really important model, and it's really important to understand Largo's model. It's not just a mining company. It's not just a battery company. It's vertically integrated. It's a vanadium company, and you're unlocking, in a sense, the highest and best use for the vanadium. Doesn't mean you're not going to mine vanadium and sell it as a commodity. You're still going to do that. But you have this sort of higher value that you've created, seizing the opportunity and understanding the need, societal need for storage. And like we said, now we've got 9 states in the United States that have storage targets. And I think, we talked a little bit about it, that the Department of Energy here in the United States put out a national blueprint for lithium-ion batteries, but you can already sense, based on the Energy Storage Association program that we had the other day, that there's this growing realization that lithium-ion batteries are great, and they do well, and certainly people have been on this program, and there's a lot of great things that lithium-ion batteries can do, but there's a growing realization that, hey, we need long duration if we're really going to get around this intermittency problem, and if we're really going to see the large-scale carbon reduction. We've already had large-scale carbon reductions, but if we want to continue that story, it's probably not going to be sufficient just to have short duration. So I think that the timing on all of this is really interesting and really exciting for you guys. And again, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the program. The flow batteries, I mean, Salvatore was talking about this yesterday. He made the argument that they're lower cost than pump storage hydro, and pump storage hydro has been in utility space for a long time. I was wondering if you could just talk about why it has a lower cost profile than a lot of these competing technologies.
As you talk about the pump hydro, it's a great solution.
Sure.
Not expensive. It's effective. However, you need to have the right topography. You need to have a reservoir on the top, another one in a low places, right. Which means not everywhere you can be applied this type of solution.
Right.
And we need to have a green energy everywhere.
Oh yeah.
We need to reduce the carbon emission all around the world.
So your footprint for one of these storage solutions is quite small in comparison, right? I mean, anywhere you can get an interconnection to the grid, you guys can set up.
That's right. And there is an additional advantage for vanadium redox flow battery. We don't generate scrap, which other batteries may have this issue. And we just keep recycling all the plastic issues we have and reuse the electrolyte, and everything we have said about being integration.
Right.
We are not pioneer on this strategy. We can see that the Elon Musk is looking for cobalt, nickel, and lithium mining, which there's a lot of problem with the raw materials. We don't have any problem with supplying vanadium for that solution. So we are in a unique situation to provide a good solution with a secured and very responsible mining of vanadium. And maybe not everybody knows, the footprint that we have in Bahia, Brazil, it's very small. It's less than 300 hectares. Oh, it's wow. Like a very little farm. And we keep producing more than 20 years and providing benefit and providing a good positive impact in all the region we are operating.
Before I forget, I mean, just some basic points about Largo Resources. If you want to learn more about the company, largoresources.com. Listed publicly, by the way, on NASDAQ and the Toronto Stock Exchange. And so, we'll be keeping an eye on that as well. But we really appreciate your time today. I don't know if there were any other messages you wanted to leave us. I feel like we did cover a lot of ground, and I think you're going to, as I said, I think we're going to see significant changes in the coming months in terms of the way people view battery storage or storage in general, and what types of storage now we need as we get further and further into this decarbonization effort.
Now we are very happy to contribute, to make the green better in the future for our kids and for our grandkids. And there is some part of our strategy which not everybody has realized already. We are developing this VRFB. We have the perfect solution, in terms of technically and economically. But at the same time, we are taking care to have a more competitive operation in Brazil to produce vanadium. Not just with the vanadium itself, which is a really in the art of stage, but we are developing a recovery of titanium from our deposit as well. It comes with the same ore we mine vanadium. So all the cost of mining, grinding, and milling is already there, paid by the vanadium. And we will get the titanium from these tailings, from the tailings of the vanadium production, and we will produce titanium. We have already approved the Humanite plant implementation. Humanite is the titanium mineral. It will produce 150,000 tons of TiO2. Of Humanite. And it's about 45% of TiO2 in this Humanite. And in the future, developing other ore bodies, we'll have more titanium, even more. So we are recovering and we'll have another revenue stream from our mine. So We are good with vanadium. We will be even better and more competitive having titanium there. So we will be enable us to explore other deposits, even if the grade of vanadium is not so high.
So just to be clear, when you produce the vanadium, what you're saying is when you mine the vanadium, you have these tailings that contain titanium as well,
Exactly.
in the form of humanite, and so that's going to be another value stream for you guys to think about using and already using as you produce more and more vanadium. So. Exciting times, I think, for Largo. Actually, I will ask you one more question. We're focused on the United States, and you have your battery factory basically in Massachusetts. But tell me about Brazil a little bit. I mean, in the market in Brazil, are you guys pursuing this battery technology, storage technology in Brazil as well?
We will provide this storage energy solution everywhere in the world. Okay. We are based in the U.S. We believe that U.S. has a strong intention to be green, so we will support that. California has been, a lot of plans, and it will be a great place to deploy our batteries. But also, we are studying in Europe, in Australia, in Africa, and of course in Brazil. So we will deploy our batteries to help on this green energy solution everywhere.
That's fantastic to hear. Actually, Salvatore Monopoly mentioned that California and where I'm sitting right now as we record this in this Commonwealth of Virginia, just outside of D.C., is one of the prime markets for Largo right now, which is really interesting to hear. So California and Virginia listed as priority one. Fascinating to hear, but also fascinating to hear that you guys have the ability to deploy globally, not just here in the United States. So like I said, exciting times for Largo. And I think, for this podcast, we've had a bunch of episodes now. This is really the first time we've focused on long duration solutions, but I think it's, as I said, not to be a broken record, I think it's quite timely in that I think there's a growing realization that, hey, maybe we need to start looking at solutions beyond the short duration. I think you're going to see, as maybe you will, maybe you won't, but I think you're going to see as RFPs go out and as states start looking at integrated resource planning, I think they're going to start looking at the duration issue. And I think California, I think in particular, is interested in that. So, the California planner is talking about a need for 8 hours plus storage. So I think it's coming, and I think it's coming fast, and I think people ought to keep an eye on it, and they ought to keep an eye on Largo resources as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, William. We are very happy to disclose all these plans and all the solution for long duration storage energy system, which we have a very good solution, and I think it will contribute to have a better world in the future.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Paulo. I know you're very busy. It was great to have this conversation. We appreciate it very much, and that will conclude this episode of the Troutman Battery and Storage Podcast. Thank you very much.
Copyright Troutman Pepper Hamilton Sanders, LLP. These recorded materials are designed for educational purposes only. This podcast is not legal advice and does not create an attorney-client relationship. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individual participants. Troutman Pepper does not make any representations or warranties, express or implied, regarding the contents of this podcast. Information on previous case results does not guarantee a similar future result. Users of this podcast may save and use the podcast only for personal or other non-commercial educational purposes. No other use, including, without limitation, reproduction, retransmission, or editing of this podcast may be made without the prior written permission of Troutman Pepper. If you have any questions, please contact us at troutman.com.